Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. This is going to be palettes revisited for January. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. In this video today, I will be telling you all about the 5 eyeshadow palettes I went back to in January. So these are all palettes I've reviewed in the past. These aren't new to me. I just really love them and I wanted to go back to them. And for February, I haven't quite decided whether I want to do this video again because there aren't a lot of palettes on the wish list for me to go back to. But if there are any requests from you guys, of course, I can have a look at that to see if I can work them into my schedule. And the reason why I'm really on the fence about doing this video in February, don't worry, it's not going anywhere. I'm still going to be using my older palettes. Is mainly because I will be filming my declutters towards the end of February. And then it's just really helpful to not have too many things like on the go because else I just lose track of things. So that's why I was thinking maybe I can skip this video for like a month and then be back with it again in March. So let me know how you feel about that. And then we are just going to be discussing these 5 palettes right now. So it was all very light, save for one, which happens to be the one on my eyes today. But yeah, I was feeling the neutrals because everything that was in my palette review video, which you saw on Tuesday, was pretty colorful. So there were lots of colorful palettes in there. So I was like, you know what? I need a bit of balance. I like a bit of color in my life, but I also really enjoy a good neutral. And I was feeling all the neutrally slightly more cool tone, taupey vibes. So that's what I went with. I think one of the first looks I did with this little stack of palettes here was with my little Viseart palette. This is one of their Petite 4, and this is the Lilas. And they actually, I believe, came out with a 12 pan version of this, which I haven't had a really good look at yet because when people were telling me that these were coming, I couldn't find images anywhere yet. So it had been announced somehow, but there were no images available. And now that I do have them, so I think they are actually going to be in my new makeup releases that I'm going to be posting for you tomorrow. But I haven't scrutinized the picture enough for me to go like, do I want that? And because I knew that was coming, I sort of selected this because I'm like, I'm happy with this 4 pan. I don't think I need this as a 12 pan, but I could feel very differently in a little bit. But yeah, the Petite 4 Lilas is really, really lovely. A really stunning, little bit more neutral leaning, cool toned little quad that works really well with some of the other Viseart palettes as well. So I really like mine. Do I need the 12 pan? I don't really think so. I think this tickles the itch. And then I wanted to give this palette its last hurrah. This is the Too Faced White Chocolate Bar, in case you're unfamiliar. Here is what that palette looks like. This is really pretty. It's one of the best eyeshadow palettes that was ever released that is this like light skin friendly. It's just so light. So many people hated it at the time because it was so ashy for them. But if you have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone like I have, this was an absolute dream of a palette. This palette just made me understand that so many of the very hyped up neutral palettes that we got before this were just too dark for me. If I wanted to have something that I would consider to look neutral on myself, I need something like this rather than the original chocolate bar or the semi-sweet or whatever it was that we got from Too Faced before this. I always do the same thing though with this. I tend to go in with some of these cooler toned mattes here. I used sugared raisin, all over the lid. And then I end up using a little bit of Exotica or Indulge. In this case, I think I went with Indulge for the inner corner. I tend to use this as a bit of liner. It's always the same thing that I tend to do with this thing. And the reason why I'm saying I needed to give it its last hurrah is because this is just too old. It's getting to that point where I'm like, I think it's actually starting to change formula. It's been with me for a good 8 years though, I think. So I've had a really nice run with this, but I don't reach for this. I just go, I put it in this video every January because it is my ultimate winter color story, you could say. So I still really love it, and it's not going to be thrown away or anything like that because you guys know how much I love this one. But simply because I don't reach for it, I just think it's time for me to declutter this and put it in a makeup memory box. We had a really nice run together. If I still ever want to use it again, I could. But I think also what this little selection has shown me is that I by now have palettes or like shades in palettes that can give me this look that I always create with this thing. but that I have a more updated, newer to me formula. So that's a little bit safer to use. So even though I still love this, I still really enjoyed that look that I did with this. It is still one of the best palettes ever made, in my opinion. It's just, it's getting to that point where I think this is actually the oldest palette that's still currently in my collection. So it's just time for it to go. And I ended up using this guy again, the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude, because this is one of my favorite palettes of 2024. And I hadn't used it again, and I used the Xenon as part of this series in December, and that made me realize that I really had to go back to my I Need a Nude again. I really enjoy the Natasha Denona formula. I think it's one of the easiest ones to work with, and I did because I feel this just gives you more options. I always go for something slightly different whenever I use it. This time around, I know I put this one all over the lid. I ended up putting this one in the crease, and that's one of the things I like about this palette is, yes, it has warmth, but it is, on me at least, overall neutral. It's not cool toned. It's not too warm toned. To me, it's really right smack in the middle, neutral. And sometimes that's just really good. It has enough depth for me. It has enough light shades. It has enough deep shades. I get an inner corner highlight that I like. This just has so many good things going for it. And it's still the Natasha Denona formula I love. And if you've been with me for a while, then you know that a couple of years ago, I rearranged all of my Natasha Denona eyeshadow palettes. And guess what? Now that I have this and a Xenon, which I think can really complement each other really well, so it might make sense to sort of rearrange those together as well. But I've decided that that's not what I want to do. Because now that I've used these Natasha Denona palettes that are newer to me in its original color story, I now want to revert my old color stories back to their original packaging. So that may be a video I can do for you if that's something you would like to see. It's going to be a struggle because I didn't label any of them when I put them into the new configurations. But yeah, I still have that old video, so I think I can see what it is I ended up doing, and I can still figure out what those palettes look like because I have all the images. I can look up what the color story was originally anyway, so I think I'll be able to figure it out. It may not be something I want to do on camera because it is something I already filmed and I'm going to be putting them back together to the original color story, but I think I may just do that on my own time sometime during spring break when that happens, because that's when I film my declutters as well. And very often what I will do is I will declutter my makeup collection, and then any of the shades I want to take out of palettes or palettes I want to rearrange, those videos I film right afterwards, and then I film my, putting my makeup collection back together after a declutter sort of video as well, and they tend to go up over time. So I film for a week straight, but it gives me content for 2 months. So let me know if that's something you want to see. Would you like to see me put them back together? Is that something we want to see? Let me know, because now that I have this, I'm yeah, and still I've decided for myself that one of the purchases I'm going to be making this spring is the I Need a Warm. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take one for the team. I want to see what that looks like on my fair skin. I've finally decided this for myself, and I'm going to be allocating a little bit of budget either March or April time to the Natasha Denona I Need a Warm, because I think it's just going to be a good addition to my makeup collection. Also because I feel I've decluttered so many of my warm tone palettes over time that it's just due an update. It's just due an update. But I have plenty of eyeshadow palettes, so before I declutter, I have no business acquiring anymore. Then I think one of the palettes I feel has sort of taken the place of the type of look I like to do with the Too Faced White Chocolate Bar is, for instance, the Cloud 9. I would also put the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes Moonlight palette in that category. I would put the Xenon palette in that category. I would put the Ghost Face Lives palette that I tried in 2024 in that category. So I just feel I have a lot of these softer, grayish, neutral leaning palettes a lot now in my collection. So I don't necessarily feel I need to keep the Too Faced around. Does this have the pastel-y colors that the Too Faced has? No, but I have plenty of pastels. So I can rope those in to any other look if I want to, but I'm a neutral girl at heart. I'm going to be really honest. So something like the Cloud 9, this is super fair skin friendly. The look I did, I was so pleased with. I ended up putting this all over the crease and then this all over the lid. And then I layered a little bit of this darker brownish gray shade as liner, but because I felt the contrast was a bit too stark, I layered some more of my lid shades with my finger on top to tone down the liner. And because this has a little bit of a blue duochrome to it, I really feel that because of adding that little bit of dimension of the darkness of that liner shade and putting the shadow on top, gave the final look just a completely different feel. So I love how that works with these kind of shifty shades. If you put it over a darker color, it's going to look completely different. And I felt the shift became more apparent on my lids, layering it over this dark gray shade. And I think I just used a bit of this shade in the inner corner as well. It was a super simple, easy to do look. I love these. There's also a little bit of a holographic moment in here, which I also really enjoy. So the Cloud 9 from Colourpop was really successful for me. It was one of the best palettes I tried in 2024. Love the packaging, love how light this is. This is now one of my favorite Colourpop palettes, I think. So that's also a category in my makeup collection where I'm like, that needs a really good declutter, because I had so many of these Colourpop palettes. A lot of them have been reorganized as well. And some of them I want to keep in the reorganized color stories because I made myself an all teal palette. Can't beat that. So not all of it is going to go, but I definitely feel that by now, again, I just have things in my makeup collection that I like better. So I'm going to keep a couple of my Colourpop palettes, preferably like the newer things that I bought, because those I haven't messed with yet. But a lot of the other things can just go because they don't tickle that same itch as some of the other palettes I already own. And then finally, what's on my eyes today? It's the Pretty Grunge from Huda Beauty. I wanted to test this one out again. It wasn't one of my top favorite palettes of 2024 because I did only test it out about a year ago, but I just wanted to go back to it. I didn't buy the Icy Nude because I just felt it was a bit samey and it had those gritty shades in, and I was like, it's just far too expensive for what it is, and I have plenty of Huda Beauty palettes that I also enjoy, so I don't need this one. And I feel by doing this look, I've confirmed those feelings for myself, that I was right to miss out on the Icy Nude for sure. This is pretty. It is quite deep, as you can tell. It has quite a bit of warmth over on this side, I feel. But the purples in here do pull a little bit more cool toned on my skin tone. I think if you're super fair and super cool toned, that it may not show up, because I do feel they have quite a bit of brown in them. So they're brown leaning purples, you could say. But I do feel that this look came together quite well. I didn't use any of like the super sparkly things that this palette has to offer. I decided to keep it pretty matte, so I popped this one into the crease, put that all over the lid, but it's more of a satin, and then I just used a little bit of this on a very small brush and really buffed it all over that darker shade to add a little bit of sheen, but to not have it be too like metallic or sparkly or anything like that. And then I think I used this one on the lower lash line, and I used the darker side of this like marbled shade on the lower lash line as well. And then I went with a matte inner corner. I never do a matte inner corner, so that's right there. And then I just topped it off with black mascara, and I'm really chuffed with this look. I think it looks really stunning. It's a really beautiful palette. I'm glad I have this one in my collection, but I have plenty of Huda Beauty eyeshadow palettes. Guess what? Another brand where I just need to cull some is Huda Beauty, because I have a bunch of the Obsessions palettes, and I never really reach for them. If I reach for a Huda Beauty palettes, it's always these 18 pan, the big guys. Those I love. But the small guys, they're also made in a different factory, so maybe that's why. Again, I want to keep a couple around that I do really enjoy, that are top of mind for me, but like a lot of those I just don't even think, I don't even think about them, that I own them. So why do I still have those in my collection? So yeah, those were the 5 palettes I went back to in January. Let me know in a comment down below what eyeshadow palettes you've gone back to and you've used again. Because remember, you buy makeup not to only test it out once and then never look at it again. You buy makeup to go back to it and enjoy it until it's run its course in your lifetime. Either because the formula expires and you've had it for such a long time. Now that I think of it, I think actually, is it 8 years? 9? I don't know how long I have that Too Faced palette for, but it's been with me for a long time. And you can still use eyeshadow for such a long time. There's nothing wrong with that. makeup doesn't expire as quickly as some people on the internet want you to believe. That's just a marketing tactic. It's just to get you to buy more. It just is. Smell things, touch things, patch test things. If you're very unsure of things, maybe don't go into your eyes immediately with an eyeshadow that you haven't used in 5 years. But just like see on the back of your hand, like what does it do? And then when you feel that's okay and it still blends and applies the way you remember it, and it still smells okay and it looks okay and it doesn't look moldy or rusty in the pan, you're safe to use it. You can still use it. So thank you so very much for joining me here today. Thumbs up this video if you liked it, and subscribe because I make 4 videos a week, so I have lots more content coming your way. And let me know if you want me to skip this one in February so I have more space for doing some videos with the new Essence and Catrice stuff, or do you want me to keep this one in? I would love to hear your thoughts. See you in the next one. Bye bye.